All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Disability in Screenwriting. This is our fortnightly workshop that we run um, each Saturday in screenwriting. For some reason, three of us all thought it was supposed to be fiction, but apparently it's not. So we just collectively suffered a Mandela effect. I don't know how that works, but we did. Well done, us. This is our workshop that we run for writers who are looking to write disabled characters. And so if you have any characters, you are welcome to bring them. The reason this workshop exists is because disabilities are one of the most misrepresented and misunderstood minorities in the media. 20% of the world is estimated, 20 to 25% of the world is estimated to be disabled in some way. And that's not shown in the media. And so we want to help change that by encouraging writers like you to write stories with disabled characters and to really talk about it a lot more, to open this conversation and these sorts of things. And also cut down on the misinformation, because man alive, I could talk for ages about the damage that misinformation in the media causes. Um, well, a couple of guidelines that we have just to make sure this runs smoothly. As you'd expect, be respectful to everyone. We won't tolerate any insults or anything like that, so don't do it. All questions are welcome, and when I say all questions, I mean all questions. There is nothing that you can say that will make me embarrassed or that I will be scared to talk about in terms of disability. So, whatever you have, bring it to me. I will deal with it. And we'll keep it open so anyone can answer any questions as well as anyone can ask any questions. This is a workshop, not a class. It's all very collaborative. We will absolutely want to read your scripts. So if you have any that you want to share, any sort of scenes, we'll sort of say up to 5, maybe 10 pages. Then sure, you go ahead and send that, and we can take a look at it, do a little mini table read, and give our feedback. And alternatively, if you have an outline or you want some help with like character development and character arc, that sort of thing, absolutely we can help you in any way we can. And remember that we are all here to learn and improve. For the purposes of this workshop, there are 5 types of disabilities. A lot of people just think of physical disabilities, but there's also intellectual, sensory, hidden disabilities, and mental health conditions. All of them are equally welcome. As I say, this is a fortnightly workshop. We alternate between this workshop and disability in fiction. The 2 workshops are very much the same. Just in one we focus on screenwriting, and the other we focus on novel writing. We welcome disabled people and able-bodied people alike, and we run at the same time every week, or every other week, depending on how you look at it. 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. British. And yeah, I've covered that. Next week's disability in fiction. And don't forget that we have our disability feedback channel, which is a forum channel here in our Discord server, where you are welcome to post any work during the week, and we can review it later on or in the next workshop session. Occasionally we post prompts. I'm not sure if we're still going to post prompts. But when we do, 5 coins will be awarded to the winner, which you can then use to have a table read in on Sundays, or any other thing that you want. You can get like really cool like merch, like hats and sliders and stuff. Worth collecting. Get your coins. Quick disclaimer. This is a safe space for all of us to talk about all aspects of disability, which means that we are open to discussing sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including, but not limited to, mental health, addiction, trauma, and abuse. You're welcome to leave at any point if things get too heavy for you, because your mental health and emotional well-being are always take priority over your attendance. Alright then, let's see, who's got any anything they would like to share? We're gonna open up the floor.
Like I said, I have a little problem with the character I'm doing.
Yeah, sure. How can we help?
A few years ago, I did a short that now I want to turn into a feature where I had this character. She was more important back then, but how I've done it now, she's like a secondary character. Still important in the film, but she's not the main character anymore. But she's the little sister of these two orphaned siblings. Mm, and she has like this leg problem. I still don't know exactly what it could be because I've studied many like reasons why she could be having problems with her leg. But she uses both a wheelchair and a cane, and also a leg harness. They live like in this Victorian era type of thing, or type of setup with a bit of steampunk. So she's got like this staircase elevator thing, like a seat she can use. But in the movie, it's a horror movie with a bit of romance. Or more like a romance movie with a lot of horror. But I'm having trouble like creating the character itself because I don't have like physical disabilities. I have more mental disabilities. With that, I'm not struggling with the sister, but I'm struggling with the little sister because of that.
Okay. So what specifically would you like to know? Oh, Kev, are you talking?
Oh, thanks. Sorry, it unmuted me. No, it's
Okay, no
fine.
worries. Yeah. Vichikita, what specifically were you interested in?
Having like feedback on the character itself. Right now, what I have is that I don't know if was like or is common. Since I created this world that's a bit steampunky and Victorian era, it has a bit of technology, but it's not full on steampunk. And so she has this wheelchair. It's not like remote controlled or anything. It doesn't have like a way for her to control it. She needs to be pushed.
She has to be pushed, yeah.
And she also has like a leg harness, but I didn't knew how much of that was possible or useful. She has to use it because her leg is like she's got like two problems. Her legs are like a bit weaker.
Yeah.
I was seeing that possibility that her bones in her legs like hadn't formed completely.
Yeah.
And the second option was that the second thing she has is that one leg is slightly longer than the other.
Okay. So I think really before you start thinking about what mobility aids, it would be really helpful for you to sort of decide what disability you're given. It's really hard to do it the other way around. I mean, yeah, for some mobility aids like a wheelchair, you can have almost any disability and need a wheelchair. But if you're getting more specialist, like the splints or not splints, but the braces, um, it's really helpful for you to be thinking, what disability does the character have, and how does it affect them? What is it they want to be doing, and what will their mobility aids help them to do? So I'm not sure how much I can help until you sort of worked out the disability that your character has. Well, is there anything that you would add on?
Um. Yeah. So, like, my questions are more about like what kind of a role they play, in the story as well.
She's like the secondary character. She's like my second story in the feature, because she's like trying to show her sister she can like exist without her, because her bigger sister worries a lot that she may like get hurt in this world more than this world is filled up with monsters. So she's trying to prove her sister that she can exist without the need of her being around all the time, so that she can make her own life and not like be dependent on her bigger sister being around.
Okay. Have has she and her sister been together their whole lives?
Yes, her bigger sister is turning 18 and she has to marry. And the younger sister is like 13, 12 years old.
Okay. Got it. Okay. That helps.
They have each other only. I made it so that they are orphaned and they don't have like a immediate family. They went to live on this estate that her sister inherited. That was her grandparents' house. And that's where all the things start happening. It's like a huge Victorian house with 3 stories.
Okay. All right. So the older sister is the primary caretaker. Not just like the overprotective big sister. All right. So are they still going to be like living together in the end? She just wants more independence than what she has, or to be trusted to be.
Yes, she wants her sister to give her like more independence, because she feels like her sister is always tailing behind her to see what she's doing, and her sister also doesn't have independence because she lives like caring for her. She wants both of them to have their own spaces and not be like dependent one from the other.
I have a question, and I'm asking this question because I was asked this question about my character previously here in this very workshop, and it's a very good question to be asked. What is this character besides disabled? Like, what does she like? What's her favorite color? Whatever else can you tell me about her?
She is a novice writer. Her sister is a painter, so they both like arts, and they both kind of work from each other on that when they're not like helping each other. They like to do those things together. Like she will write a small story and her sister will draw a painting out of it. Also, she likes to collect her sister's paintings. She has her room filled with them. She mainly likes gothic stories and legends. She invents things with a lot of folklore in them. Even when she doesn't know her sister herself is a half monster, and she's part of all the folklore she's read in this world. She's also very feisty. She isn't one to cower in front of things that make her feel fear. She's one of to respond, and she's pretty much the strongest one of the most extroverted one of the both of them. Her sister is more introverted, so she's the one that talks to most of the people that come around, and her bigger sister also depends on her to talk to most of the people in the town they're living in, and they kind of depend on each other a lot.
Okay. We're getting somewhere. So the older sister basically has the younger sister to be somewhat of a mouthpiece because she's the more shy one. There can be some kind of conflict build on that. Like, if do you want to eventually have them stay together, or do you want the younger sister to gain some independence and, I don't know, go travel the world or whatever?
In the end, I would imagine them staying together because the little sister's still like 12 years old. But I imagine them like having their own lives separately within the big house because it's big enough for them to have their own independence and not be like secluded in this little area of the house where there's like two continuous rooms and they're living in that part of the house most of the time because the big sister wants to know what the little sister is doing all of the time.
I think your story leads to pretty good conflict. Like, I think you just need a want for the little sister that the older sister is preventing her from getting. You know, like the little sister, let's say she wants to go to college, you know, out of state or something, but the older sister's like, no, no, you're not ready for that. We can't be, you know, separated, you know. So does your younger character have a want that your older character is preventing them from getting? Like, someone brought up traveling, like maybe she wants to travel, she wants to explore the world. And then the other one's like, no, no, it's dangerous.
She wants to write a book and do like a world tour with it. But her big sister is like, stay with short stories only.
Then I think that could be a good focus point. Where let's say she's been writing books, she has an option to do a world tour, and the short or the wait, sorry, is this a short or a film?
It was originally a short. I want to turn it into a film.
Okay.
Maybe the conflict could be, maybe the rift in their relationship could be that the younger sister. I'm sorry, Kevin, can you please mute your mic? Thank you. The younger sister could be secretly writing the book, and then she finally tells her that the book is finished, and she doesn't even have to like have somebody to publish it, but like just to show the older sister, yes, I can, and this is what I want. And there could be a reconciliation based on that, like the older sister sees that the younger sister actually does have this ambition that is stronger than anything, and she needs to support her rather than hold her back.
So I am wondering about this dynamic with her being 12 years old. That yeah, absolutely, she can be writing book, but any concerns that the sister would have about reaching out or doing a real world tour or doing anything that would be really legitimate, and pretty much anyone would not want their 12-year-old child or little sister being very, very wary of that. Even like reaching out to publishers, you're opening yourself to scams and so much more. Now, you did mention that there were monsters, I think you said. Is that true?
Yes, that's the horror part of this whole. Her sister is a half monster.
Oh, wait, which sister is a half monster?
The eldest one.
Okay. That, I actually love that dynamic. Okay. Okay. My wheels are turning. I do agree that what Kevin Eden said, the little sister needs a goal that the older sister is blocking, that she can't accomplish with her sister that being there. But it also needs to be realistic. I don't think my brain goes pew pew. I think it's more of gears grinding or a car that won't turn over. Yeah, so like what kind of a, or I guess like, how does the younger sister perceive the monsters? Like, how does she perceive the monster in her sister?
In the beginning, she's scared. Because she's heard about these things, but she never expected her bigger sister to be one.
Is the bigger sister a monster from birth? Or is this like a vampire bite or something?
No, it's a lineage thing. Only that her grandmother was a monster herself, but only her got like the lineage line. And only one of the sisters he has a half monster now.
Okay, I have an idea. Everybody grab every mop in vicinity. I'm going to be oozing sap and it needs to be polished, but I have an idea. So let's say the younger sister finds out that the older sister is a monster, and obviously she would be scared because monster. But then she rationalizes it that this person has been around her whole life, has never hurt her, and has been viciously protective of her, if anything else. And she decides, monster or not, I still love you, you're my sister. And upon that, the older sister gets a light bulb moment. She's supporting me in what I am. I should support her in what she wants to be, and decides to help her publish her book. Like I said, needs polishing, but that's my idea. Shooting it out there.
Thank you. I like it.
So V, yeah, it's funny because I thought this was a human or like a real, or how to describe it. Basically, I'm just confused how these two plots kind of connect. Since the feature, they should at one point kind of unite, you know? Like it should all kind of have one theme, and I don't really see it yet. So yeah. So do you have an idea of the ending or how, this sister dynamic will end with this monster dynamic?
Okay, the story itself is about the bigger sister that she has to get married because many monsters are coming to the house because she's come of age and she has to get married or she's going to lose the state and also her sister in the process because they're trying to kill her sister because she's food to most of the monsters, and they see her like, oh, she's weak, she's an easy catch. We're gonna eat her and also gonna have her the bigger sister. And she's looking for a couple that's going to help her like keep her sister protected at the same time that she like fulfills this thing that she has to get married with another monster so she can keep her state and be protected by the monster like aristocracy.
Yeah, I remember
And
you talking about it
that's the main story. The second story is about the relationship between the sister and the little sister. And the main part of the plot is like the love story. The second part of the plot is like the family dynamic.
So how does the feature end? Sorry.
At the end, the sister does find a partner, and she can stay with the state. And the partner kind of gives them the protection they need and everything. And I wanted the big sister to give her little sister like more space to do things herself, because her sister is also good at inventing stuff, like creating ideas for stuff she can use. And the monster she pairs up with is good at constructing things. He's like an inventor. So he kind of, in the end, proves the house so that the sister can move freely through the house without her sister needing to be around her 24/7. That's like the ending I wanted.
I have several ideas. I will try to be concise, but first and foremost, what you just said actually coincides with the idea I had before you said it. So let's give the little sister a little bit more agency. Also, hi, cutie puppy. I feel like as a disabled person, she should not be so helpless. She should be proven not helpless. And you did say she has a big imagination and she also knows all the stories about the monsters. How about make her be able to protect the house, not the sister, the older sister, or the soon to be husband of the sister? Because she has the knowledge, she has read all the books on these monsters. She just needs somebody to help her set up the traps. And in amongst all the monsters that are going to be, I don't know, storming the house or what have you, will be this one who just, I don't know, has a moment of looking at the older sister and just falls in love or something. I don't know. I think the sap is still in me, but I had something going with the inventions. I feel like you don't have to have that moment with the looking in the eyes. That might be too much. Okay, I'm quiet now.
So do you have a theme in mind? Either like it's a one sentence or a one word, idea of the story, like a theme, or like a question. Thing.
The theme I wanted to do is like love above everything else. That's like my theme in this story. And since she also loves her sister, not in a romantic way, but in another way, in a more filial way, it's also kind of within the theme. Yes, Archer, what Willow said. I didn't want to make her a monster because I didn't want it to go into the tropes of disabled people being non-human. I wanted her to stay the human one because I could have done that and do it like easily. Like a disabled people can turn into this other thing and escape from their disability when it's nothing bad in the end.
Yeah, I was really, really happy when you described that it was the older sister that was actually part monster. I love that. Um, um, is there a all right, so we have the sister wants to get married. The younger sister wants independence and to prove that she can be more independent under her overprotective sister. Is there a monster threat? Like I don't know, maybe a horde of humans that hunt down partial monsters like the older sister. Like, is there a threat that the two of them perhaps can combine um to fight an oncoming threat? That maybe the older sister tries to defeat the threat uh by herself, but she can't. She needs the extra help of her sister, or like her sister has the key to be able to defeat whatever the threat is, or um, I- like I feel like there. I think all of these plots can come together. I think there needs to be something that combines them, and you already have the monsters, and I don't quite know what the how monsters' role in this world is. But if there is a monster attacking them or something that they can join forces in to defeat some kind of a threat.
Okay, so the monsters are shapeshifters, so they can look human and be monsters at the same time. So it's difficult to know who's a monster and who's not.
That is something that that a writer or someone who understands the ins and outs of the monsters would grade out if she can comprehend. Think I think that I think what we're all trying to get understand is the younger sister wants independence. And okay, that's good. What exactly does she want independence for? And is it something that uh why is it something that her uh I guess considering that she is a minor, she's 12 years old, there are things that are going to be realistic reasons to be overprotective. Um, or going traveling by herself, talking to strangers, those would all be legitimate concerns uh for the sister, for the older sister, and good reasons for her to be overprotective. Admittedly, kind of the weird thing is necessarily fighting monsters is something that where the sisters' overprotectiveness would become a problem.
I'm having a wild idea, and I don't know if it's like possible, but that her little sister wants to become a monster hunter, and that would also bring another problem to the table.
I'm all for her being a monster hunter. Sounds good. What kind of a problem would that bring to the table?
I mean, it would bring like more drama to the plot. I mean, because her sister's a half monster, and when she finds out, she may be like, "Okay, this is not good."
Okay, I can see that. I kind of feel like we've got maybe a few too many elements going on. And it may be one of those things of like to kill your darlings. We have overprotective sisters, or a caretaking what's the word? Relationship, a marriage, monsters, sisters being a hybrid monster. We're getting a lot of disparate elements, and I think okay, I'm going to be completely honest. I love a lot of the uh like the ideas for it. I think the one storyline that is kind of throwing me for a loop and just kind of makes me hit a brick wall is the marriage subplot. The needing to marry. You've got this great setup a between two sisters, and there is already so much between them, and you've got all this awesome conflict. Trying to add on a marriage subplot, I don't. I think that is actually the one little part I don't not a fan of.
Yeah, I agree with Willow. I think it would help, making a story about focusing on one relationship. Or if you do include the romance, it has to in some way support the main relationship, which is the sister sister relationship. I think a good example is like Finding Nemo. Story isn't just this fun, klutzy character, Marlin meets. It's supposed to teach him to believe in other people. It's supposed to teach him that he can trust his son, you know. Yeah, you can see the marriage thing for the sequel.
I think you have a whole bunch of keys of all the different puzzle pieces of a really awesome picture. And it's a matter of fitting all those pieces together. But I think you might have a couple pieces that are from a different puzzle. And so it's not quite fitting quite right. But for example, this entire conversation, now granted, this is disability workshop, not romance workshop. But you have not told us a single thing about the husband to be Because then you'd have to establish his relationship with the little sister, his relationship with the big sister, his relationship with the monster world. And we have not discussed one iota of him to make it work and feel natural. Your strong suit is between these two sisters. And I will just mention what Eden said about how we branch out a lot. Disability is in every aspect of our lives. So, or it touches every aspect of the world. So that is why there is so much Venn diagramming going on and all interconnected. So I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot. Chiquita,
Yeah, I may like to do the sisters more like a front relationship, and the other one do it like back it up a bit. So I'll have to change a bit of the log line I did for this, but I think it would go to a better port that way.
well, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing other things you come up with.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope that helped you, Chiquita. If anyone, if anyone else has any other comments, oh no, maybe not. Chiquita's gone. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, if anyone else has any other comments, more than welcome to share. Yeah, I'll emphasize what Winner just said. We do go out into all kinds of topics because disability, for someone who has a disability, it will affect just about every aspect of their life, from their relationship to, literally everything. So yes, and I also am very happy to branch out and talk about other things.
And it's also the point of this exercise, I guess, or class or workshop, to make us aware that we're not supposed to write disabled the character, but like a human being.
Yes.
A personality first, disability, yes, it's there.
Yeah, and that's actually what I was going to say next. I think it was you, Eden, who said, someone asked me this question, and it really helped me. We should be thinking, who is the character? Because often when people create a disabled character, they create a disabled, but they forget about the character. So yeah, I love that.
I think it was Willow who asked me the question initially, like when I was talking about Ro, my one-eye blind character, who I actually based on a friend who is also blind in one eye, and you couldn't tell because she's first and foremost a feisty bitch.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's very much Willow's question. When you asked that, I straight away messaged Willow in DMs. It was just like, that's your question. That's your question. But yeah. Anyway. Thanks, Keith, for bringing that to us. Let's open up the floor again to any other topics, any questions that people have about disabled
Kev has been typing for like 10 minutes. I think he has something to... there we go.
Oh, there we go. He says, a way to connect the two stories are like, little sister wants to make friends. Big sister thinks it's too dangerous, so keeps her inside. Little sister gets kidnapped by monsters for food. Big sister fights monsters to save her sister. Plot twist, little sister was able to make friends with monsters. Thank
Love
you,
it. And that ties into the thing that Vichikita said previously, that the little sister knows a lot about the monsters, so she can mingle with them.
Bruno says that she happy squealed when you asked the question. And I did say, I'm glad my mic was muted. Okay. Shall we go through the list and see if anyone has questions? Let's start at the bottom. Willow, do you have any topics that you're working on? Any disabled characters you're working on is what I actually meant to say.
Yes and no. Okay, what I'm working on right now is not I don't think it would necessarily be considered a disability, and yet I think it falls like right in the line. So I'm working on my story about centaurs, and one of the scene that I've been working on for actually a really long time now is one of the centaurs has a phobia of water, and I'm just so in the opening scene, I've got her next to a river, and she's working with her farm's dam. She's trying to repair it. The dam breaks and is at risk at flooding the flooding farm. Now, originally, I was going to have her her love for her family overrides her fear of the water and her phobia, and so she's able to jump in and stop the water from flooding. But one of the things that I've seen is, what is the worst thing that could happen to a character, and then use that. Don't take the easy way. Don't make it too easy for the character. Use the worst possible circumstance. And so that is what I ended up doing. And so now, rather than saving her farm from flooding, she is frozen in fear and just watches the water gush through and destroy her family's crops and such. And so that creates a whole lot of guilt and pain and such, that and shame within herself, that she is going to need to overcome, in which she's going to later meet a character who a newcomer who has DID, and who is a boat enthusiast. And so that's going to help her get over her phobia of water and this guilt of failing her family. But I think for me, the great epiphany was, just let the farm flood. Let the worst possible case thing happen. And then once I figured out that, the rest of her arc kind of became clear. It's a redemption arc for her, and it's out of her own personal shame, because she stood there and did nothing while her family was flooded. So that's where I'm working at right now.
Oh, thank you. I will just also say that if you are disabled, that vote is disabled, then you can talk about anything, because it's also a disabled writers group. Yeah. Riley, what are you working on? Are there any projects with disability that you're writing?
Not specifically disability related at the moment. The closest that would come is one with a senior who has a fall, and The point is getting them to actually do their physical therapy.
Okay, cool. Is there anything that you want help with, or you got everything good? Everything okay?
Not specifically at the moment. I'm more here to vibe and possibly participate a little bit.
Cool. You're more than welcome to.
And
Eden, go with
I
it.
want to add one thing. A senior citizen, a senior, especially one that has fallen, absolutely that would be considered disabled. It would dramatically change her life, affect both her life and the people around her. That would absolutely be considered a disabled character.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Particularly with physical therapy as well. That's often something that disabled people have. But yeah, Eden, do you have anything you're working on?
Bit. I was trying to flesh out one of my characters in my head, and it is specifically the one that got disabled during his lifetime. It is Win, the one who's missing an arm and has a robotic arm in place of it. And I wanted to work on the specifics of how he lost it, because I definitely know that he lost it because he was trying to help someone, and due to his powers of being able to manipulate machines, he was able to summon a bunch of what I in my story call nanobots to basically form a new limb for him. But like, would it be too tropey if I had him not save the person he wanted to save, and that would be a source of guilt?
What do people think? Is it too tropey to, like, so I'm not sure I understood the question. Would you mind repeating that?
Basically, like, he in my head, the scenario and this, I just thinking about it makes me feel, oh god, tropey. But okay, what I was thinking is that uh that arm, just having it there as a constant reminder of what happened,
I
would
see.
remind him that he's done something utterly stupid. He lost a limb in the process, and the other person who he was trying to help was not able to help.
Oh, I see. So having the prosthetic arm is a constant reminder to his mistake.
Yes.
I like that. What do people think about that?
Wait,
I
sorry.
don't.
Oh, go on, Willow.
I don't see anything quite tropey about it. I like it.
Yeah, I don't think it's. If it is a trope, I don't think it's used. So it's not an overused trope. You're good.
Okay.
Kev, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, yeah, I haven't seen much of that either, but sorry. So he or she has a prosthetic arm or refuses to use one?
No. He has it, and he can use it because basically he uses it unconsciously, because, like I said, it's a little bit of a fantasy setting, and his powers are that he can manipulate technology, and that is any kind of technology, to the point like somebody would be pointing a gun at him, and he'll just say, your gun isn't working, and it won't be.
I see.
Like, in a sense, he's absolutely overpowered, but due to the fact that he's an absolute pacifist and would not hurt a fly, he chooses basically not to use his powers for evil or any kind of destruction.
Got it. Okay, I think that's a cool idea. I don't think it's used too much in the West. I think I've seen animes used it like twice.
Yes, I
No,
am a
think
recovering weeb. Thank you for noticing.
yeah, I think you're good. I think it's not a trope.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. I'll come to you in a minute then. Kev, do you have anything you're working on? Any disabled characters or disability themes?
Yeah, it's funny. I want to do a boxing story. Well, I've wanted to do one for a while, but I can't figure it out. And I just thought it was funny that one day I was thinking like, oh, what if he's blind? What if he's a boxer and he loses his eyesight in some accident or something, and he's still able to fight? He uses his other senses, and then I realized that's Daredevil. Dang it.
And also,
Literally,
I think that there's quite a few characters that you know, where there's like characters, so like what's her name? Toph. She's blind from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and her like she can see everything through her feet, like through the ground, like not echolocation. That's not what I mean. Seismic something, I can't think what the word is, but like you know, being able to feel through the floor where everyone is. That is very much a not realistic to say the least. But it is as Willa just reminded me, it is a Paralympic sport. And so I'd be interested to know how they fight. Maybe look into that.
yeah, I've never heard of that. Blind wrestling. Yeah, I'll check that out. But yeah, I forgot about Toph. Toph is also a really sick character. And the blindness and the way that you see how she sees, like you said, using the seismic ripples, going through the earth and into her feet is so cool. But I'm trying to think. At least right now, I haven't thought of too many. Because like if I write a plot, I do want yeah, I don't want to write a character who's disabled for, and not to say inclusivity's sake, but I want it to be a big part of the plot. But yeah, still thinking.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that.
All right, let's move up to. I'm gonna skip past Jay because I know that she's not a writer. God is deafened. Dan, your turn. What are you working on? Dan, are you there? Okay, we'll come back to him because he said he had a question.
Sorry, I didn't hear you say my name.
Oh, sorry.
I was actually wondering about a character that I don't know if they come across as, well, awful as a person, because my protagonist is pretty much kind of got like these sort of almost hedonistic level hedonistic tendencies. Basically, when she's not studying super hard magic, almost to like a super like transfixed level. She's pretty much got after that. She's like she doesn't care about anything unless it's like to her own benefit, usually in the form of hypersexuality. And it's like it's to the detriment of other people. It's like I only care if it's to my benefit. And I'm not sure if this is a disability or if it's just like a really poorly written character, but I don't know.
Okay. Yes, I think it can be. Because we include mental health. You can have.
You're coming in real quiet.
Now and again. Discord was the problem.
There you go.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so.
And there he went.
No. Because we include mental health in our in our discussions, that does sound like a personality disorder potentially. I would definitely look at the list of personality disorders to see whether or not that is something that your character might have.
It might be some form of psychopathy, but not the kind of like murder. No, I hate that stereo. I think that's a bad stereotype. It's more like I don't care. It's more like the kind that's indifferent, the kind that's.
Okay, so that sounds like, just the way you said that, that sounds like, I forget what it's called, schizoid personality disorder.
Schizophrenia?
No, schizoid personality disorder. Which is here. So schizoid personality disorder is oh, that's a rubbish description. Okay. I'll send you a better website in a minute. But basically it's being unable to or having difficulty in forming close relationships with other people without really wanting much socialization and being emotionally cold to other people.
That sounds kind of it. She's just like, okay. She's pretty much only wants people in relationships. She's the kind of person who likes, she thinks she falls in love, but then she's like, yeah, we had our fun. Next.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna see if I can find the website I'm actually looking for.
She's not like going, you know what I really want to do right now is melt your face off and kill you. She's not that kind of person. Unless you're, of course, the enemy in the enemy army, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
And that has psychopathy because they're technically that's a problem, but that's just the problem of war. It's a different non-disability.
So I'm going to send you this link. This is a better link than the link I initially sent. Wikipedia, good old Wikipedia. So this is like a
very reliable site that nobody ever edits.
No, but it is. I've checked this page over, and it is generally very good. Because people can be really strict about what's edited and how it's edited. But anyway, it gives you a summary of each of the different. How many are there? 9, 10 10? Yeah, 10 personality disorders, and you can sort of, look into each one of them and work out which one fits best. It might be, so I can see like 3 of them that might work for his character, but yeah, just go through each of them and see which one just feels right, and hopefully that helps. So it is a disability. There was something else I was going to say as well. Did that help, or is there something else you want to go deeper into?
Well, I guess my concern is that making it, my character is borderline. My problem is that because of her hedonistic, brought on by her mental state, that she causes problems and sets off a lot of plot of inciting incidents, and that might give the idea that look at those mentally disabled person did it ruin someone else's life.
Yeah. Okay, so let's open this up to other people. How do we think we could avoid that, maybe? Any suggestions for Dan? Because it is a very real problem that happens.
People despise this character in the table read, I think. Because it was like, oh yeah, I thought I'd kind of hide how awful she is by making her make some funny jokes, a few sex jokes here or there. I don't know, that always makes me laugh, but didn't really work. So I'm trying to rewrite this, but still keep her super hyper transfixed on both on studies and her sexual I don't know if I don't want to use the word, maybe it is the word conquest. She is that kind of person.
Right.
I may have a friend who you would want to consult on that because she used to be that kind of person.
Huh. All right. I can do that.
And also, I think you really need to consult a female, no offense.
Yeah, so
Probably.
get some like sensitivity readings and things like that. Another massive part of it
I've been
is
trying to tone down her appetites, so to speak.
okay, yeah. But yeah, I think the most important thing is getting to network and hear from like people with a disorder, and once you figured out what disorder, the next step would be, hearing from people with that disorder, so that you can make sure that it's not in a negative way. But yeah, obviously that's dependent on you first figuring out what personality disorder
I want
fits
the
best.
negativity to stem from ego, so to speak.
Mm.
But if the ego is part of the disability, then that's a bit of a paradox, so to speak. Usually we don't mind when egotistical villains do egotistical things, but oftentimes we can associate that egotism with some sort of mental disability these days, or mental disorder. Am I thinking about this wrong? It's very possible I don't understand. I'm spewing complete word garbage.
Willow, do you have any suggestions for Dan or any comments that might help?
I guess I'm trying to like still comprehend the story and the character. Okay, so is she like a protagonist or a villain? What
Protagonist, yes.
she's the protagonist.
Yes.
Okay. And she's like, the problem was she was unlikable or
Yes, that's part of it. Part of it was unlikable. Not much of an. Well, part of it. The part of her not having much of an arc is a different issue. That's a me writer issue, but that's something else. I guess people didn't like that she was unlikable because she would be like, I don't know, she wouldn't care about other people. She would be like just doing things for fun. It doesn't matter who she was hurting. It's not like it's not like she was going, oh great, that not like physically hurting, but emotionally hurting, and not intentionally. I'm not even sure because I'm trying to rewrite this. I'm doing a burn to the ground rewrite it all over again. So who knows? Maybe I'll share pages at some point.
Yeah.
For anyone who has been at the table reads, this is the protagonist in War of the Elves.
Like mental disorders can be a lot harder to write and can very quickly fall into bad stereotypes, and I'm not quite I'm not quite certain how to write such a character. The same things would still go on. She needs to have a goal. She needs to have skills or some kind of a personality that makes her unique. No matter if you were to get 100 people in a room with the same exact disorder, you would have 100 different people. Some things would overlap, some things would be the same, some things would be different. That is universal for all disability types.
Well, I guess one thing that is unique about her is that while she's really working hard to be a powerful wizard and wants others to fawn over her, she'll never try and control them to make her do it because of childhood trauma of her mother doing similar. She won't use magic of that sort of nature under any circumstances. Hopefully that's a unique enough thing to make her stand out from 100 people.
Well, that has to do with her backstory and her history. That doesn't.
Yes, but her personality stemming from that is the idea that she wants people to, of their own volition, fawn for her.
Why?
Rather than being coercive.
What exactly does she get out of it? How does she benefit from others fawning over her?
It gives her, I guess, ego, dopamine, and fun times.
So she's chasing the next high? She's chasing her next high?
So, the next rush.
The way you're talking about her, I feel like she herself doesn't realize that she wants to be loved. And by virtue of probably her disorder, she is associating being loved with being possibly sexually desired. And therefore, she wants people to fall head over heels for her, but she also doesn't want to be hurt. So she hurts them prematurely by leaving them and just basically leaves a trail of broken hearts in her wake because somebody did that to her previously, and she's built some kind of wall around herself that this is never going to be me again. I mean, we're treading into woman scorn territory, which is also a trope I don't like, but I think this character could benefit from it.
Yeah, but she doesn't go. She's not like we're not. Or what do you mean, like in Carrie, where the woman gets picked on, so she turns into murder powers? I don't know.
No, not murder powers. Gee, how do I put this? Okay, so I've been through several very bad breakups, so I can draw from life. And let's say that the last one will turn me absolutely goddamn bitter because it had every right to. And I just, instead of looking for somebody to love me, for me, and for me to love them back, I'm looking for hookups left and right because love has no meaning for me. I have become absolutely numb to it. And in my brain that is now hurt by the trauma, I associate sex and love together. And it's the exact same thing for me. Do you get me? She's not killing, she's just breaking hearts.
Right. I don't think her intention is to break hearts.
But she's doing it.
Yeah, in a double innuendoous way, she's a people pleaser.
And much like I said in the chat, I feel like a tragic backstory to justify that would make her, what was the phrase I used? Less of a bitch and more of a victim of circumstance.
Oh, she definitely does. When she was a child, she watched her father hang for daring to have a loving relationship with an enemy. and her mother was abusive physically and magically.
No, you have your tragic backstory. Yeah, that is perfect. Work out of that, and like keep it in the mind of the viewer or reader or whatever, the recipient. Like make it known that she.
Oh, I make it
she's
known
a
right
person.
away. I make it known right away at the start, so people can be like, "Oh yeah, that cold open where she watches her father hang." I can always think back to that, and it can justify all of the things she does. But that almost sounds like a cop out. That sounds too easy, though. There's got to be more to the writing. There's got to be more to the writing than just everything that can be justified because this happened early on.
I mean, that's not a justification. That is explaining her rationale.
No, I meant justification for her rationale. There would still be things that she would do, but people would be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, and you want her to come off as doing these what the fuck things. You don't want her to like be able to justify herself to the viewer, only to herself. So you have to have a point where she has a light bulb moment, or she's being sat down by somebody, slapped around a little bit, and told, "No, that's bad." Like I feel if you want a character like this, they need to be called out in text.
She does at the one point. Her best friend who had fallen in love with her is just pissed because she starts to realize, you whisked me off of my feet right out from what was going to be the man who proposed, right out from under my feet, right after a man proposed to me, and I never looked back at him. You didn't love me anyway. Your hedonism got him killed. Now I'm going to end you before you can hurt anyone else. Or that's what I want to have happen, but I'm not sure. I don't want to be taking up too much of the time of the group, though.
No, it's actually okay. I think Jill's trying to help somebody. So I think what I'm kind of missing is what her ultimate goal is. Like, and she doesn't necessarily even have to know it, but so she's got this traumatic issue in her past, this traumatic scene, and that is affecting her, and she is misconstruing love. She's thinking that physical love is love. Okay, all of that makes sense to me if I'm getting that right. Question is she trying to overcome that? What exactly is her goal? Does she like this is elves and we're in a magical world. Like, is she collecting the souls of the people that she is who are, I don't know, sleeping with her or something? I don't know.
No, she never does that. She just wants to each just this to her it's like saying, to her it's like, okay, I've been a day, it's to her it's like this is her unwind after a day of work at say studying or going to a battlefield skirmish. She's like, okay, done with that. Time to do the things I like to do. Or the people I like to do.
Okay.
It's hard to explain, so to speak, but this is kind of like the differentiation between work and pleasure. It's like she's in two different modes. But it's not like split this, it's not like a personality disorder type of two modes where, because Otherwise, everyone who has different personalities when they're at work or not at work is bipolar at that point. That's not the case. She's not.
Oh, okay. So is this something that she wants to change? Like, I can understand maybe society saying that this is a bad thing. Is this something that she just enjoys and she doesn't want to change it?
At first, no. But then she realized, but at first, no. But then because of her trauma in the past and realizing, oh, wait, this supposed enemy is not so bad. She's just she's just like me and anyone else alive. I see that now, and maybe this whole war is not the right thing.
Okay, how does her how do her relationships and her, I don't know, after work fun times relate to the war? Does it color the way that she sees the war, or those are two very, very separate things, and absolutely someone can have two aspects of their life that are not even related, but she still has.
Well, when she was a child, she saw her father with one of those enemies, and she saw how happy he looked with her. After, this was after he had divorced her abusive mother, and then she accidentally ratted her father out. So there's this like little piece of her deep in the back of her mind that, despite all the brainwashing telling her that these creatures are worse than beasts, there's that little piece in the back of her mind that keeps telling her, yeah, but what about this? Remember that moment? I don't know how to explain it well, but that's going to be the catalyst that makes her go, oh, wait, this whole war is founded on stupid lies.
So is she trying to sleep with the enemy, trying to rekindle what her father had? Like,
Yeah, it's partly that. It's also partly that, I guess you could say. Although I don't outright state it because I feel that would take away from the subtext. I kind of want that to be like, oh, her father slept with one of these, so she'll sleep with one of them too. With the enemy nation.
that definitely brings a whole lot of conflict.
Yeah, it's going to be what's in the rewrite. But I got at this point, it's figuring out how to make it all make sense, because it's sensible in my head, and I'm not really good at getting it out of the head.
Oh, I feel you. Feel you so much. Yeah, Joseph's neither am I. Yeah. Things absolutely make sense in the head, and it's so much harder to get someone else to understand what is inside the head. I think the one thing that I'm missing is some kind of a goal, whether it be internal or external. Okay, she comes to understand that the other side isn't so bad. Got that? That's fine. But that's not a goal. She's not trying to broker.
Well, I guess her main goal is to. It's hard to say because her main goal, seemingly unrelated, is to become a powerful spellcaster, which puts her in direct opposition with the enemy character, who is also a very potent spellcaster. But unlike her, she will control other people. That's kind of the juxtaposition. Both of them studied magic, but both of them went down the path of, I want to control and make people bend to my whim, no matter what. even through fear, whether it's through fear or controlling them directly, or taking control of their body and destroying their autonomy, or making them live with lies. But she's not much of, but our protagonist, the protagonist, she's not much of a liar. She wants to be a powerful wizard, but she won't step on other people to do so. She's very much, as she says, it's like, you gotta have fun.
Okay, so that all makes complete sense. I absolutely understand that. Okay, I think like the rivals they want. Okay, I think I am more understanding of that aspect. I think what I'm not understanding is how her after work fun times uh uh um intertwine, or how it connects with this power dynamic and the desire for power. So.
Yeah, I've got a lot to think about now. Thank you for all.
Can I ask one question? If she gets this power, if she gets all the power that she wants in the world, what would she do with it?
That's the thing. She doesn't know. And that's actually a plot point. She says it turns out that this isn't what she wants. It turns out that she's thinking, maybe if I'm this really powerful wizard, people will flock to me. And then she realizes, no, maybe I should just be more conscientious of others. And then that's the end goal. The end goal, I hadn't actually thought about how that far ahead in the series. It's kind of like one of those series where it's like, what happens when these two? It's kind of like in one of those really slow, not even burning, not the candle isn't even lit yet sort of series where it's like, what happens when these two get together? Find out in 5,000 episodes, maybe. So yeah, I hadn't gotten to that point.
I think one thing that might be able to help streamline is if she were to know of a goal in mind, a reason to be powerful, and a being loved is okay. She wants to be a celebrity, or does she want to destroy her? Even if it's wrong, even if she changes her mind, giving her a reason to become powerful, I think can help. I don't know, streamline.
Well, her bitter mother is still alive and still is abusive, and so she probably wants to think, look, I'm not like, and her mother's like, you're turning out just like your father. So she wants to be a powerful wizard and use that power so she can make sure mom doesn't treat her like that. There's always this looming threat that she's got in the back of her mind that mommy might have me killed too, just like dad was.
I have an idea. How about her point of realization is something that, again, has happened to me because I always draw from life. Sometimes I have to stop and think about what I just said because I've opened my mouth and my mother came out. And she realizes at some point that she's turning out not like her father, but like her mother. And she needs to stop that because she remembers what a bitch her mother was.
Well, yes. When she's slapping somebody, when she slaps somebody in the face, that's the epiphany moment. Because I will even have a short cut back to that scene where her mother slaps her, and she's like, "What am I doing? Why am I torturing you, prisoner?" I'm shooting you with lightning in all sorts of places that I should not be shooting or attacking person. This is borderline rape. Look, just take your things and go home.
I like that. And that's the
You
moment.
take your things and go home while I go have an epiphany and introspective moment.
And that's the moment she decides to stop doing that and be a better person.
Yes. Well, until that point, she had started seeing one of the enemies, but this is when she realizes, okay, it's not just she's not this 1 in a million of these enemies. They're all probably like this. They all have fears and sadness. They're not. These aren't just cold-blooded, cold-blooded killers who will attack anything and have no emotions. This is a human being, and they are crying and begging for their life.
Oh no, the others are people just like us. However will I cope?
I guess to a point, but it's not just that simplistic meme, or stereotype. But keep in mind, these are people who who live for hundreds of years, so they've had hundreds of years of propaganda thrown into them. And to perhaps break it with a slap seems a little too silly. After all, other people do this sort of torture stuff too.
Yeah, but you did say that she's a child of both of the sides.
No, her father. No, she is not. Her father is not. Her mother is of. Okay, the two sides. We're gonna go with. We're gonna go with the. We're gonna call them elves and dark elves. She is purely the high surfacey elf type. High elf, I guess, would be the one term. She is purely that. Her father, after divorcing the mother, started having a relationship with one of those dark elves, and that, after he got caught, is why he was put to death.
Okay.
It seems like this. I'm starting to turn my story topsy-turvy anyway, so what I say today might not even apply to the next draft at this point.
That's right, no worries. Stories change all the time. But hopefully we were able to help you.
This is actually, oh, come on. Here, work with me. This is actually what I had in mind when I was talking about the others being people like us. Let me put it in as a picture here. Is me.
Yeah, pretty much. It boils down to one of those kinds of stories with a Romeo and Juliet element thrown in.
Okay. Let's just hope it doesn't end with a double suicide, because that's not a good.
Oh no, nobody's gonna commit suicide. It's just that the villain is the biggest hypocrite. The villain is the one with the most unforgivable thing of all compared to our protagonist, a hypocrite. And they are actually power hungry. The only thing that the villains care about are each other, and they are devoted lovers to one another. But to maintain that love and happiness and eternal life, they will pretty much say to everyone, you guys have got to go fight so we can use your bodies for our undeath magic to keep my husband alive. But I'm not going to actually tell you people that.
Okay.
Basically, they're from a time before the war started, but they were practicing some forbidden magic that was using up which was actually using up souls and life forces and stuff like that. So they got attacked. What the husband was killed. He was the surfacey elf. She's the dark elf. She figured out how to reanimate him and keep him alive as long as possible using making him more like, I guess, more like a sort of like a vampire in disguise, or maybe, I wasn't sure. I'm not sure which kind of undead creature I want him to be. I've had him as more like an undead mage who keeps using, who uses magic to make himself look like the king who he disposed in secret.
Your story is so entirely packed.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's not a bad thing.
I've got this planned out. It's just getting all the pieces. It's like I've got all these puzzle pieces. I just got to make them fit.
It's so relatable.
So, I have a question. Is this story going to be like a novel, like a show? There's going to
Yes,
have
would be a
multiple chapters?
screenplay. It would be a screenplay. I write in that format here.
And is it like a movie or a series of movies?
At this point, it's leaning towards series just because I don't know how, because the final confrontation, I don't know how to solve that yet. So for now, it's a series.
Because you are straight up
It's
having
just-
Tolkien levels of lore in it, so I don't see it being a
I
film.
haven't really talked about the lore. I haven't gone into the physiological nature of all these creatures of the dragons in this land. I haven't actually talked about it. I am literally talking about only one part of a probably big expanse. But that's the thing. I've come when it comes to this sort of stuff. Don't talk about the lore. Talk about the characters.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I mean. Like, for what I have heard, and I'm sorry if I don't hear anything. I keep being called to do chores and stuff.
I hear you.
But for what I have heard, it seems like even though you're talking solely about the characters, I can already tell there's like a lot of lore in the background. Like, there's a lot of influences from the history of the world that is influencing your character, and that is very important as well. And for what you seem to talk about, it seems more like a huge story type Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, which it has a really complicated and intricate world, which I guess the best way that you can approach it is to have it in a serious format, or like a even if it's like a multiple movie type. For example, if we see Lord of the Rings or Dune, which is currently being filmed, that are based on very long story form book series, it's the best way to tackle, because right now, just being on a Discord, just trying to explain your character, it's a lot of info dumping, which can be very stressful for the readers, and it's something that it has to be taken on a baby bite size of information.
I understand. Unlike, however, Game of Thrones, this is very focused on a few characters. I'm not jumping between like 20 different subplots throughout the first episode. I will not do that.
Yes, though I completely understand you, because I have a similar story that I'm working on for. It's a long format comic book, so I understand the whole world building and like having a lot of things going on with a single character. So it takes a lot just to explain parts of a single character in a short format in this type of like Discord stuff. That's why I think it will be better to just clear first and foremost in the call, like saying, hey, okay, this is a long format show. It's gonna be I think the best approach to puzzle everything together is giving yourself a limit. So if you're having a show, how many seasons is going to be? how many chapters and how's going to be the length of the chapters. That is very important to think about, and that's going to help you with the character story, because then you're going to figure out things like, okay, I cannot do this for the character, or I have to take this out of the character and the character struggles and the character's difficulties, because it's going to take too much time, or it's going to be too complicated for the how long I have to develop this character. It's going to help a little bit. It's my opinion.
No, you've got a good
Continue,
point.
sorry.
Thank you.
Um,
Go, Willie.
All right, so I was just typing in chat as many of the plot points I can think, and yeah, people are probably going to hate me. I'm sorry.
No, I don't. I like that list. I'm gonna steal that so I can have that as in my on my like note card, so I could say, why does she do this? Oh yeah, one of these 7 reasons. Well, the 7th one is kind of like an unknown rival. She doesn't even realize who the enemy is until late.
Wielder. It's supposed to be part power wielder. Okay, so apparently Brian Sanderson has a quote that is
I'm sorry. We are.
I feel like
starting
we're
running out of
veering away
time.
from disability talk, though.
Normally that's fine. Because like we say, disability is, comes into all parts of life. But we are running out of time. We have got a few other people who joined.
Okay.
Absolutely. On my turn right now.
Sorry, Dan. But if we run out of time,
I already said I feared I was taking up too much time 20 minutes ago.
You weren't at the time, but now we've got lots of people, so I'm going to check in with, try and get through at least everyone. I'm going to go with the people who joined before, Amanda and Bitterbun. Archer Slam, did you have any anything you wanted to help with? I think you're a disabled character.
Not currently, no.
Okay, that's fine. I thought you were. Okay. In that case, Bitterbun, welcome. Is there a disabled character you're working on that you want help with?
Yes. Okay. It's kind of embarrassing. When you actually talk about it out loud. I have multiple characters that I want to write with disability. The content, as I already mentioned, I am working on a story which is going to be a long format comic book with several issues and several seasons. But it's going to have a limited cast of characters. But the main character that I'm struggling with is it's going to be shared with a situation of villain hero type of story, but so I have 2 characters. The main dealing with the story and another character. They both are going to go through similar. They're both going to go through similar events and eventually develop similar disabilities. My goal is to showcase the differences in between somebody who has been given the time to be treated and to have time to cope and explore and manage their disabilities, their traumas, their what they're experiencing. Meanwhile, the other character is mainly built into somebody who has not had any treatment at all, and whose disability eventually becomes worse because it's just the person keeps pushing themselves in the opposite way of treatment. So yeah, that's a little bit of what I have.
This sounds really cool.
I am still trying.
So just if you don't mind me asking, your hero, I assume, has had a lot of time in rehab and treatment, right?
Sorry, you sound really low. Can you repeat it?
Oh, I was just saying, is your hero the one that has lots of time in rehab?
Mm, it's going to be it's going to be a secondary character, but it's going to have a lot of light. With it mainly is the hero who is going to be uh helping in the recoverment state for this character. Meanwhile, the other character, even though he's surrounded by people, these people is not helping on this character recovery, or it does not encourage recovery at all. So more or less, that's how I'm going on. I am still trying to get as much information as possible from the disabilities that I want to develop in these two characters. I have the events planned for these both characters, but I want to be more. I have to have much more information beforehand, exploring um, what these events are going to cause in these characters, like the behavioral issues that comes along with the disability. So I don't want to have I don't want to tell yet their story or their behavior, because I don't want to have misinformation, or I don't want to do something that is incorrect.
Yeah.
So I mainly join here to have more ideas and listens to everybody's, and since it's my first time joining, I just wanted to have somewhat of a guide. And
Yeah, of course. So your hero and your villain are both in the same incident, or do they obtain the similar disabilities at different times?
They obtain similar disabilities at different times in different incidents, which is going to be quite a similar incident, but not exactly the same. How do I put this?
Have you thought about what incident that is? Have you thought about what incident that is?
Yes. But I still have to develop it further.
Okay.
I could say that it's mainly inspired by multiple instances in my own family of disability. So I am still investigating a lot yet, because
Mhm.
I do have a family member who is battling with schizophrenia. I actually have
Yeah.
2 family members who is battling with schizophrenia. So it's a little bit of projecting my own experiences with the two sides of the coin, like somebody who
Mhm.
has been treated and somebody who has not been treated yet. So it's more along those lines.
Okay.
Though, like I already said, I'm still trying to develop the events further to be able to make a correct portrayal, and I don't want to fall into the trope of oh, disability bad villain. I don't want to
Yeah.
do that, and I don't desire to do that. It's
Mhm.
more like I'm trying to put up a message into how important it is to provide treatment to go with this.
Yeah, and I really love that idea. I think that's a really good thing to talk about. But yeah, if there's any specific thing you want to ask, go ahead. But I hope it all goes well, because it sounds like a really cool project.
Yeah, it does. At the same time, I am afraid to. So, my story is quite. I won't say it's the same thing. It's not, but it's quite similar to them in the sense that it has a strong fantasy genre attached to it. But my fears are that I don't want the fantasy to. Um, I don't want the fantasy to like cover the underlying message. So I was sure that confused. Like I've been wondering whether I should just remove whether I should just divide the two things, like whether if I should remove this type of storyline to the characters and just do two separate projects. One where it doesn't include fantasy, because I don't want I don't want the things that are happening on the story, like the background events that are going on between the whole cast, the whole character cast, to completely like shadow the whole disability message and treatment message that I wanted to put out. So that's like, I guess that's my concern. If you guys could help me out with it.
I think fantasy doesn't make you like lose or generating a plot that doesn't surround itself 100% around the disability makes you go against the message you want to send. The thing that you want to send has to be through the characters themselves. So it's developing the character in a way that the world around him treats him the way that you want them to be treated, or you want them to be portrayed, more than the story being a problem at all, I feel like.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That gives me a lot of insight. Though at the same time, I know that I have this problem where I want to like do a lot of world building and like event building. So that's why like I have my concerns whether it's going to shadow the character struggles. Because I don't want like people to don't pay attention to it, you know? Like even though it's going to be part of the story, part of the character journey, I still don't want it to it's like I could put an example, okay? Like let's say we have Lord of the Rings. The main events, like the main story event, is the whole ring journey and what they're the things that they are, the adventures they are having throughout this journey with the ring. It's sort of like similar. There's like a main event happening on the story. Meanwhile, the characters are having their journey. So I don't want the main event to shadow um the characters struggles with this specific thing, you know, with this specific disability. So I don't know how to play around with that. So that's why I was thinking whether it was better or not to just make two different projects instead of like one single project. Combining all of it is like, I don't want to have issues for writing it, like while developing the story, and like at the end of the show be like, okay, this is completely missed. So it's like nobody noticed or things like that, or they just like went through it and didn't pay attention to it. Those kind of things.
I feel like you can't make people like concentrate on the specifics if you don't make it like, I mean, if you want to talk about it and make it like something more casual in a way, like make it, show it like something that shouldn't be the center of attention when someone has it or something like that, I would recommend you do the fantasy story you have in mind. But if you want to do like a piece that talks about it and it's completely about that theme and it's centered around it, like completely, I would take another approach. But what I feel normally with these themes when it comes to mental health, it's better to treat it like it's something normal inside a world that's like different. I also have my troubles and my issues, and I usually don't watch things that portray them because I feel like they trigger things in me.
Yes.
But when usually it is in some other kind, I feel like represented by the character. And it's not necessarily like talking about the problem all the time, like the issue being the center of attention, but the issue is the center of attention for the character itself, not for the whole story. Usually it's, like I said, it's better when the character is the central point and you do more a character story than a world story.
Yes.
You can still do world building and still present an interesting and intriguing world, but it's better when this type of stories, at least, I feel it's better when they are told like character centric. So you could
Yes.
do that and concentrate more on your characters, and that way they are going to portray better what you want to portray.
Yeah. I think I'm still thinking a lot. How do I want to frame the story? Because mainly the story, it's kind of similar to that in the sense of like there is like a war going on. Um, but I wanted to have a diverse cast. Because I do also uh have I have ADHD, and I have many friends and group of friends which we are diverse. Like we have I have cousins and family who are like Down syndrome, or I have friends who are autistic. So it's like I wanted to help to portray a lot of things within the story, like you say, to like normalize and feel I forgot the word. Sorry. Feel identify by the characters. Um, but when I see like if I might put an example, I could say that in the Netflix show Stranger Things, there is a character called Robin. She's lesbian and she has ADHD. And even though I felt um, identified by when she had the spotlight on some episodes showing her ADHD traits, and like I was like, oh, I'm exactly the same and things like that, and it felt great. I still feel like it's a character that is extremely overlooked and is overshadowed by the main events of the fantasy of the fantasy world that is coming around. You know, that's at least that's like the way I see it. But I really like your approach, and I'll think about it. Um, I think I have to really be very careful on how do I attach everything together. To give the characters their if I decide to go with both things, the representation and the fantasy world building, I guess I have to be very careful and see how everything fits together.
Oh, thank you. I think we're gonna have to stop there, just because we are officially at the end of our workshop today. Thanks all for coming. Don't forget that we meet next week on our sister server WordCamp for the sort of same workshop, but we tend to focus on novel writing where possible. Although we do also allow screenwriting, so hopefully we'll see you all there. Fantasy Workshop is currently in progress on WordCamp, being run by Amanda. So go check that out if you're interested. And yeah, see you next week.
Bye. See you next
See
week.
ya. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.